We are witnessing immediate ramifications from Donald Trump's tariffs. Immediate. And it's so bizarre, the cast of characters that are now sounding off. Fox News is now on the case to what's going on? What are the impacts? What are the ramifications of this? Where were they? It was crickets from the peanut gallery before, but now that it's actually hit, and they're interviewing people who are ostensibly conservatives, ostensibly voted for Donald Trump, and who are disapproving of what is taking place, people who own car dealerships, people who are millionaires who are bitching about this policy, who, like I said, probably voted for Donald Trump. Now Fox News is paying attention. Not so much Maria Bartiromo. Two of these clips are from her show, but what's the little goof? Ben Shapiro. You'd think I'd know his name because I have a clip right here and his name is written right here. Even he is starting to be like, I'm not sure if this is going to be good. This is going to drive up prices. Well, what's the justification? You know how he talks. Anyway, first I want to show you this very short clip of Maria Bartiromo and this Fox Business correspondent or reporter on the ground on a car dealership lot talking about how this particular truck that he is facing, that he's looking at, that he's reporting on, is normally $80,000. Try to catch your breath. I know, an $80,000, unless it's a work truck, who's buying $80,000 pickups? And then they explain very briefly, again, it's like 10 or 15 seconds. Now that very same truck, because of Donald Trump's tariffs, is worth it's costing $100,000. It's still worth the same amount, but it's going to cost more because of Donald Trump. Watch this.
And the auto industry expects to feel the impact of President Trump's tariffs. Fox Business's Jeff Flock is in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania this morning with a firsthand look. Jeff.
Could be ground zero for the impact on the tariffs, Maria. This Dodge Ram truck, $80,000, instantly became $100,000.
Now, a little later in the show, that same correspondent, that same reporter on the ground at the dealership talks to the owner of the dealership. And this guy pulls no punches. Look, in my experience, people who own car dealerships largely vote Republican. They largely are conservative politically because of the economic ramifications of being a business owner, that you think you need lower taxes and all of this nonsense. That's been my experience. That's anecdotal. That's not fact. I haven't done any polling. I don't know. But it is interesting listening to this guy who is bending himself in half, trying to be as gentle about what is going to impact his business as he possibly can. He's not being aggressive. He's not calling out Donald Trump. He's just talking about the policy and its impact on his business. And then when they come out of the clip, wait for this. Wow. When they come out of the clip, Maria Bartiromo goes on this rant about how these massive $100,000 trucks aren't being sold in Europe, and that's the problem, and that's what Donald Trump wants to change, as though Europeans want to drive in these massive automobiles on their tiny European streets. They're just detached from reality. Anyway, watch this conversation with the correspondent, the reporter, and this dealer owner.
Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
Yeah.
Impact.
Dramatic. I sold order for a customer, $80,000 truck. It's $100,000 now. So he's not going to buy the truck. It's going to sit on my lot at the higher interest rates we're paying right now for floor plan, and nobody's going to buy the truck because it just had a $20,000 price increase.
Right. Kelley Blue Book will put the number up. They say the average vehicle will go up by about $3,000. Does it sound right to you?
No, it will not. We don't have the broad stroke. We don't have the linear, the tight strokes. But to me, it's a 25% tariff. So that affects our parts that come from over these countries, and a whole bunch of our cars.
And you've been basing your business model on free trade, basically. This is what the American Automakers Policy Council says, Maria, in response to this. They say our American automakers invested billions in the U.S. to meet the requirements of the current free trade agreement. They shouldn't have their competitiveness undermined by tariffs that'll raise the cost of building vehicles in the U.S. and stymie investment in the American workforce while competitors from the outside of North America benefit. The German, there's no tariff on the German cars coming in now.
No, they're
Japanese.
They're going to be okay. But think about it. We built our business around that. The OEMs built their business around that, and now it changes on a dime. And we can't build a $4 billion plant overnight in the United States. So I think building in the United States is great. I think enhancing the participation from the other countries on the other things, but this is pretty radical.
I hear you. There you go, Maria, where the rubber meets the road here.
All right, great. Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff, thank you. Thank you so much. Jeff Flock at the Dodge Ram plant. Not plant. It's not a plant, Chris. They're selling cars. Thank you, dealership. But you know what? Let me ask you this, okay?
Yes.
How many Dodge Rams do you see driving around Europe? Okay. How many Dodge Rams do you see driving around India? I mean, not many, I bet. Why? Because they don't buy our cars. And that's what President Trump is trying to change. Maybe Dodge should start building them here and selling them here.
Nobody is going to buy a truck that just had a $20,000 price increase. This is pretty radical, he said. This is pretty radical. Again, you saw him hemmed and hawed, didn't want to come right out against Donald Trump, mainly because the threats of reprisal, the threats of retribution against anybody who speaks out against him. But really, the chef's kiss was coming out of the clip and hearing her rant about how people in Edinburgh don't want to, in these tiny European cobblestone streets, they don't want to drive massive Dodge Ram trucks. Like that's the policy's fault and not a personal preference of a consumer. Just galaxy brain nonsense from these morons who will do anything and say anything, even as shameful and as embarrassing as it can be, to defend Donald Trump. Now, let's go to Ben Shapiro, who rants and raves about tariffs and half agrees and then half doesn't, but really points out the reality in a way that can't be taken back. Well, it can be, because they change their minds every 5 seconds. They change what they say, talking out of both sides of their mouth. So we'll see what he does with this. But here's Ben Shapiro breaking it down as he sees it relative to what the impact of these tariffs are having and are going to have.
And this is where President Trump does have to walk very carefully. Inflation killed Joe Biden's presidency. If you wish to see President Trump be successful, he needs a booming economy. He cannot have a recessionary economy. If tariffs continue to drive up prices, and if wages do not increase sufficient to meet those prices, you're going to be in exactly the same predicament in which Joe Biden found himself. Now, again, I'm perfectly fine with using tariffs as leverage. If the goal of a tariff is to get other countries to lower their own tariffs, if the idea is you have a 25% tariff on our lumber, and now we have to put a 25% tariff on your oil products, and then we trade one for the other, and all the tariffs go away, I'm perfectly fine with that. If the idea of a tariff is to threaten, say, the country of Colombia with a 50% tariff in order to get them to take deportees, great. That is a piece of leverage. I still am unclear as to what the actual demand is against Mexico or Canada that would get rid of the tariffs. If the idea of the tariffs is that they are inherently a good for the United States, that is not true. Okay, tariffs are, in fact, a tax on American consumers. They drive up the prices. Now, again, there may be industries, like, for example, semiconductors, where you need them produced domestically for national security reasons. They simply can't be produced in China or in any place that is subject to Chinese predation. I get that, and I'm all for it. It is another thing to say that Canada is some sort of deep and abiding national security threat requiring widespread 25% tariffs on Canadian products. Canada, by the way, is the #1 trade partner with the United States. Here was President Trump yesterday saying there's no room left for negotiation. I wasn't even aware there were negotiations going on.
That was a nice little facts don't care about your feelings sandwich, was it not? How he begins by saying the intent, I'm still unclear, he says, as to what the actual demand is against Mexico or Canada, if you're using tariffs as some kind of a cudgel or a motivator for a country to change their policies, to do something different, even though Mexico and Canada are our most long-term trading partners, our most important, most vital trading partners. And then he says the thing that Republicans are so reticent to say, which is the tariffs are in fact a tax on American consumers. They drive up the prices. There's the meat of the sandwich. And then the other piece of bread is that I wasn't even aware there were negotiations taking place. You think, Ben? You think, Mr. Shapiro? Do you think that, brother? Fantastic. The problem is it's not fantastic for the American people. It's not fantastic for families. It's not fantastic for your average, everyday, working class American who needs every single penny to be able to pay their rent. The housing crisis has left us in a situation where you can't earn minimum wage and you can't rent a 2-bedroom apartment in any municipality across this country if you earn minimum wage. If you are a working person in this country, things are tighter than ever. And in that moment, Donald Trump chose to saddle America with extra price increases that were unnecessary and wouldn't have existed 2 days ago if not for his policies. And then you have these morons out there kind of explaining it away and kind of criticizing it and showing the price increases and then ranting that Europeans don't. What are they doing? Doesn't make any sense. If you can make sense of it, let me know. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. Please consider supporting this work. You can go to dollemore.com and get yourself a sticker, the memory spotty, and then the leopard, people who voted for the leopard eating face party. And then when the leopard ate their face, they were weirded out. Oh, I can't believe this happened. These are great. The bat phone stickers, there's t-shirts and mugs and totes, all kinds of designs. Every purchase goes a long way to supporting. You can also go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast, channel membership, lots of ways to support this work, but primarily click the subscribe button. The bigger we are, the more people I reach, the less there is a chance that I can be messed with by Donald Trump and these anti-free speech clowns. That's important. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.